Jean Claude Van Damme, sometimes known as the Muscles from Brussels, used his skills as a ballet dancer and a martial arts expert to build a lucrative career as a Hollywood action hero. Van Damme's toughest fight was against another legendary martial arts exponent, Frank Dux. There were no ninja kicks or karate chops. This showdown took place in a courtroom.
Dux says Van Damme is a liar, and he's suing him for $900,000 over a movie deal. He claims his former buddy cheated him out of profits from a movie the two co-wrote in 1991.
Jean Claude, every time his career was sliding, he'd always reach out to me.
So we're gonna make a great film together. Let's do it. Yeah, Jean Claude, it's gonna be great. I even feel Frank telling me that. And I said, I'm gonna help you with your life.
He basically pled with me, come back, work with me, blah, 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 and made a bunch of promises. And so we worked on it, got a beautiful script done. We were gonna move forward, get the whole thing done, get contracts done. And Jean Claude says, look, man, it's dead. I don't know what to tell you. Project's dead, I gotta go do these other projects. He says, but one day we'll be back doing it. One day, I promise you, promise you, promise you.
For the first time, Van Damme was going to direct himself in a project he'd written. It was a movie called The Quest. Out of work and recovering from brain surgery, Frank Dux had heard rumors that The Quest was just a remake of his and Van Damme's old Kumite project.
When I heard that these guys were just trying to cut him out of The Quest completely, I really did feel a certain amount of, I felt sorry for Frank. He wasn't somebody that should have just been discarded like a piece of junk. He had paperwork for what was originally called Enter the New Dragon, and these guys were saying, well, this is not Enter the New Dragon, this is a completely different project. But it wasn't, it was the same, it was basically the same thing. It was basically Bloodsport in the 20s.
Then Dux lucked out. A friend discovered the Writers Guild was ruling on credits for The Quest. Dux rushed over to submit his and Van Damme's old Kumite project for comparison. In a surprise move, the Writers Guild awarded both Frank Dux and Van Damme story by credit on The Quest. Getting that credit was just the ammunition Dux needed against his old friend.
It wasn't about the money. It was never about the money for me. It was about him, holding him accountable, because nobody in Hollywood was holding this guy accountable at the time for what he was doing. He finally went to a friend of mine, a mutual friend named Frank Mattioli, and he contacted Frank and he convinced Frank to have me call him back.
In Hollywood, points means a percentage of movie profits.
Mr. Van Damme said to you that there were points on the project?
Yes,
Points for whom?
for Frank Dux.
Dux has scored an early victory. Now Van Damme must contradict his friend's testimony or lie, but Van Damme hedges.
Did you say to Mr. Mattioli that Mr. Dux had a piece of the back door on the movie? Yes or no?
Another piece. I said to Frank Mattioli, if Frank Dux will do a script with me and he'll put his name there, he will have a back door, which means after my life, after that script life, he will do some more business in the film business.
Van Damme swears he never mentioned a percentage of the profits.
He basically put his hands over his heart and said, Frank, you're my brother and I love you, and I'm talking about making a deal for you that'll be the financial security for the rest of your life. People don't get it. You know, yeah, Jean Claude hurt me, okay? He really hurt me. He really let me down. But deep down inside, I always try to protect the memory of the kid who came over here, took lessons from me 3 times a week. You know, that's the guy I remember. That's the guy I love. That's the guy I still think about.
What Jean Claude was maintaining during The Quest was that I'm not a producer on this movie. I can't pay Frank. So the name Eugene Van Varenberg was on the poster. Frank's attorney asks me, who's Eugene Van Varenberg? I said, well, that's Jean Claude's father. So that pretty much cinched it as far as the jury was concerned. Frank should have won. He should have won, just based on that. All right, just based on the fact that he had this injury, he was in the hospital. Here was some poor schmuck basically being ganged up on by some